Welcome to KBA Vendor Viewpoint. This is Selina Parrish, KBA Director of Membership Products and Services. Today we are featuring KBA Endorsed K4 Architecture and Design. We are pleased to have K4's President, Jeff Klump, and Nicole Derogatis with us, and she's serving as Chief Marketing Officer. Thank you both for being with us today. Jeff and Nicole, please tell our audience about the K4 family of companies and the services that you're offering to KBA members.
I'll take that one, Selina. This is Jeff Klump, President of the K4 family of companies. K4 is a total solutions provider of architecture, interior design, graphic design, construction management, marketing, and branding services. We try to tie your facilities to your physical and digital marketing assets. In other words, simply put, we try to connect your branches to your brand. We are based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We are a 44-person company. We've been in business. November was our 25-year anniversary. So we've been in business 25 years. We have worked with more than, in the last 25 years, close to 2,200 financial related projects, anywhere from new facilities, new branches, new main offices, additions, remodels, ITM installs, helping companies with their website as well as their marketing collateral.
Thank you, Jeff. I think it's a real timely topic for what you all are talking about today on brand consistency. And I know a few of our banks have mentioned to me on my trips around the state that they are definitely working on brand. And I think the number one question most of the time is, where do I start at a bank? It's one of those issues of, it sounds like a great idea, but where do I start? Can you all address how you would suggest banks get started on that?
Absolutely, Selina. Yeah, it really depends on the community bank and their priorities. They could simply start with a website, or they could focus on their social media. Or if they have a new design or new construction project, that is a perfect time to look at connecting their facilities to their physical and digital marketing assets, rolling out a new branch and new brand simultaneously. This is what K4 team does every day for our clients. Often the project originates from the K4 architecture side of the K4 family of companies, and the brand strategy is a clear one. Let the facility design anchor the brand strategy. In this case, our marketing and branding department would receive information from our architecture and interior design divisions regarding exterior and interior brand elements and roll those out to the physical and digital marketing assets, including website, print collateral, mobile, and social media.
And this is Nicole. I'm going to chime in here. And how marketing and branding, the idea for this arm of the business came about is when K4 was conducting a new facility build or a remodel for a client, we were finding that their marketing and branding wasn't getting a corresponding update. So they have this brand new shiny building, an outdated website, maybe older marketing collateral. So sometimes the brand consistency effort starts here in marketing and branding department, and the rename of the bank guides the rebrand. So we would develop brand standards. We would roll them out in reverse, kind of what Jeff previously mentioned, with the facility last or at an undecided future date. But I would say that no matter what route you choose, facility-led or marketing-led, there's a couple first steps that we always do. And the first would be to just conduct an internal brand assessment or brand audit. We want to evaluate the elements, the inconsistencies, and maybe some strengths and weaknesses we can either play on or omit. Then we want to really define the brand. We want you to clarify your bank's values, missions, and vision, but have those changed over time? Do they need refinement? We need to consider that. And then we can go ahead and establish brand guidelines, which is just a consistent set of visuals, messaging to maintain brand coherence. And that could be anything from fonts, logos, iconography, imagery, etc. But one thing that I do want to say to banks that are considering changing their name, and one thing I can't stress enough, if you are interested in a new name, at the very start of all discussions, go on GoDaddy, make sure the domain name's available, and purchase it as soon as possible. Even if you're just in the early discussion phases, even if you're considering several different names, buy them all, because that $10 annual investment, that can save you a lot of headache down the road. Before, I've seen teams become so invested in a name and then the website URL they want is not available.
Oh, that is great information, because I was just talking to a bank last week who is, I guess they're thinking their strategy is to rename the bank, but they were hoping to get it done in the first quarter. Do you think that's reality? Can a bank get rebranded or renamed in 2 or 3 months, just in the first quarter of the year?
This is Jeff again. I think that depends on the bank and where they'd like to start with the very scope. Realistically, I think that's a bit ambitious. While some aspects can be expedited through brand development, approval process, and implementation, generally, I would say that this process will take longer than that, Selina. Most likely 9 months to a year.
Okay.
The challenge is coming up with an acceptable name and then creating what we call their Nike swoosh. In other words, something that's that instantly recognizable logo element that can stand by itself without any words. Looking past the logo development, the success of the rebrand requires collaboration, involves multiple parties. It involves timely decision making and effective communication among stakeholders. That's crucial for the streamlined process and for moving things along efficiently. The process really depends on how promptly our clients respond, but honestly, I would not rush this, because it's a very important step to the longevity and sustainability to the community bank's successful brand transformation.
Certainly. And that leads me to that other thought of exactly who inside the bank is involved in all of this brand consistency. Are you working with the board of directors of the banks, or is it just the top C-suite management of the bank? Tell us a little about how you're seeing banks work on brand consistency internally.
Sure. I'm going to take that one, Selina. And I would say that from both architecture and marketing-led sides, it always starts with the president and his senior management team to define project scope, order of importance, and to determine kind of the initial brand standards, color, logos, etc. And then I would say the president may or may not seek board approval at the inception of the project with details on the intended project implementation. Then, after we've kind of gone through and established the brand, we oftentimes then put marketing retainer support in process, and then there's much more involvement in different levels of the bank. From the marketing side, I regularly interact with senior management, with compliance, with lenders, and even with admin. Basically, anyone the marketing touches or who can contribute to marketing a product or service or facilitate the brand internally. So I'd say the bottom line is leadership involvement's key. Board members, executives, key decision makers should be engaged from the very beginning and stay engaged until brand consistency is achieved and living well within the organization. And I feel like if brand consistency is implemented correctly, it becomes part of the organizational DNA. And that's when kind of the top members can kind of loosen the reins a little bit and let their people carry out the brand.
Excellent. And the other thought I had was every bank wants to have a unique brand. They want to look different than another bank on the corner. So how does K4 step in there and make sure that those banks get that unique brand to make them stand out in the community?
I think Selina, rebranding a community bank is important. It is important to create a unique brand in the sea of similar institutions. It requires thoughtful and strategic approaches. Here are some ways K4 can help achieve brand consistency through our total solutions approach. K4 the K4 team tailors architecture, interior design, graphic design, construction management, marketing, and branding to reflect the unique identity of each bank we work with. We like to engage closely with community banks to first conduct a very comprehensive brand audit and to understand their distinct values, cultures, and aspirations. Then our market research homework begins to understand the competitive landscape and identify common themes among our other community banks. Then we seek to identify unique selling points and differentiators that set that bank apart from the other community banks. Then we assist our clients in creating brand consistent facilities that can differentiate them from their competition. I like to say, and you probably hear me say this a lot, but I think community banks need to think like retailers. If there's a book out there by Ray Davis, he was the president of Umpqua Bank in the state of Oregon back in the mid 80s and 90s, and he grew the bank significantly. And I would highly recommend any of our Kentucky bankers maybe read that book. It's called Leading for Growth. But he basically talked about, when he entered the bank, he basically said, we need to play by retail rules rather than banking rules. In other words, we need to think outside the box and note that retailers have figured this out. If you create consistency, it increases the visibility of your organization. The end goal is to craft a unique brand consistent story that resonates to the community, highlighting the bank's history, their community commitment, involvement, and their future aspirations. The technical aspect of implementing brand consistency involves uniformity and a visual identity and design. You want to create a visual distinct logo and visual elements that stand out in the market. You want to use unique colors, typography, and imagery that evoke the desired emotion, aligned with the bank's personality. And, Nicole and I give a presentation. We kind of talk about how the facilities, marketing, and people create a financial success puzzle for community banks. It's like a three-legged stool. Two can't stand without the other, or they need to be triplets and not siblings. They almost have to be identical. From a facilities perspective, they need to create an exterior brand recognition through branded iconic elements like a tower, consistent materials, a consistent palette of materials or finishes, strong branded signage. They want curb appeal. They want the facilities very well lit up at night. You're a community bank, so you want to look safe and secure, but you want your facilities are a beacon to the community 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And from the interior, you want to make community references. You want, logo and history walls everywhere. You want them to see your brand and know who you are. Again, consistent palette of materials, brand colors, graphics, lighting, flooring, and furniture.
And from the marketing standpoint of that financial success puzzle, making sure your brand is unique yet consistent involves uniform application of the brand across all physical and digital marketing assets. And that could mean your physical environment or the facility, signage, interior environmental graphics, print marketing collateral, the website, the social media, the mobile app. And then we always suggest a development of clear brand guidelines to maintain this consistent messaging and making it accessible to all the staff so everybody buys in. And then when we are considering marketing efforts, we always prioritize community-centric marketing to humanize the bank, because we feel like content is king, but community's queen. So we want to develop marketing strategies that showcase your bank's commitment to the local community. We want to position your staff as community contributors, and we want to position your bank as a pillar of support. So we're going to be highlighting community partnerships, sponsorships, initiatives that demonstrate your bank's active role. And your staff is out in the community, so we really want them participating. We want them on site taking pictures and videos. And one thing I do suggest here, a best practice that I have found working with clients, is to have a model release QR code either on your phone or just have business cards printed and give those to all your staff. So if they are out in the community, they want to capture a picture of a community event where it involves people that aren't bank staff, but community members, especially children. that's a nice way to protect yourself from litigation, is to always grab a model release, but to have your staff be active participants in showcasing your community's commitment. And then ultimately, the goal of all of this is to drive traffic to the branch. Marketing's the chauffeur, and we want to always drive traffic to where you guys are best poised to sell and deliver the brand experience. And that's the best place to also display your uniqueness.
Yeah. And then if I can kind of conclude that, the third piece of that financial success puzzle is, and probably the most important piece, is your people. When it comes to people, they're your number one asset, your number one resource. They're the physical they represent the brand. They are your brand ambassadors, but they're also your relationship builders and maintainers. And community banking, their strength is all about relationship. So you can't do it without your people. There's a quote out there from Scott Gardner with Forbes where he basically states that your employees' interaction with your customers become the authenticity litmus test based on how they facilitate your company's purpose. And that's what your employees need to be doing. Your employees in the community banks are key to putting your brand into operation. Community banks should focus attention on training their staff to embody those brand values in their interactions with their customers, and tailor customer interactions to reflect that unique brand of their organization. So many community banks would be surprised to see the value and the impact of how a well-designed, aesthetically pleasing, and graphically represented facility, how it contribute to the community, to their customers, but also help reinforce employee recruitment and retention for their organization. This strategy, prioritizing brand consistency of facilities, marketing, people, create a foundation of brand strength that stands the test of time and surpasses any fleeting trends. So Nicole will probably chuckle at this, but I always like to say creating brand consistency and increasing visibility they're instrumental in creating brand awareness, which leads to brand recognition, which in turn results in brand equity for community banks.
That's great. And in Kentucky, can you tell our audience about a few of the K4 projects that you all have accomplished for KBA members?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. We've worked with Fort Bank multiple times, but we really have focused on looking at trying to rebrand them somewhat to a more younger generation. We partner with Fort Bank on their main office in Lexington, as well as two non-traditional LPOs, loan production offices, in both downtown Lexington and Covington. And what they all have in common is, number one, location, but also technology implementation using ITMs, but also they create a relaxing and networking environment with a networking opportunity cafe concept. The design challenge with that was to preserve and incorporate the established brand elements and let those blend seamlessly with the design of their more traditional branches. Other financial institutions, Whitaker Bank, our journey with Whitaker began with a shared commitment to their legacy and their slogan that is strictly Kentucky. This approach is deeply rooted Whitaker Bank's identity within their communities, guiding our efforts in redesigning concepts for multiple branches to create a consistent and authentic representation of the Kentucky spirit alive daily at Whitaker Bank. We work closely with their team to infuse their strategy into the interior redesign of several branches, from color schemes to themed elements. Our goal was to evoke a sense of local pride and resonate the unique charm of Kentucky and the horse industry in their branch locations. And we've also worked with First Financial Bank. Although they're based out of Ohio, they have multiple locations in northern Kentucky. We've been working with them almost 19 years and have helped them develop a very strong brand. And we've helped them with more than 80 to 90 new builds, remodels, acquisitions, other facilities. And our mission was always clear: breathe First Financial life into each facility. And finally, Selina, we're currently working with Heritage Bank out of Burlington, Kentucky. And our collaboration with Heritage Bank began with their and our shared vision for modernizing their physical spaces. They were very traditional. It's the way they originally set their organization up, but they too wanted to try to start attracting a younger generation. So mainly we focused on the interior and included complete updates and contemporary remodels with a modern look, including finishes, graphics, and furniture. We really work closely with their team to understand their brand identity, values, but also the unique elements that define them in the community. We started in Burlington, Kentucky, and our focus there was their main office transformation. We implemented innovative design solutions to create a space that not only reflect Heritage Bank's commitment to the future, but also enhance the overall experience for both their employees and their customers. And then a real exciting challenge that we just started on with them just in the last month was a repurpose of a former bank building in Lakeside Park, Kentucky. This project allowed us to blend the modern design concepts that we established for their main office into a former bank building on Buttermilk Pike and help them create a unique and harmonious environment. We strategically integrate brand elements to ensure a cohesive visual language across all their locations.
And finally, Selina, we're extremely excited to be working with Morgantown Bank and Trust out of Morgantown, Kentucky. We appreciate their understanding of the importance of creating a strong brand presence for their growing organization, which showcases their innovation and forward-thinking approach to community banking. We started working with Tom and Jason on a new 2-story main office facility strategically positioned across the street from their existing location, and this project is still in process. At that same time, they also realized that they had outgrown their leased retail facility in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that the facility was no longer meeting their needs. With that realization, it prompted them to seek a new location that aligned more closely with their objectives. With close collaboration between both teams, K4 and Morgantown Bank and Trust, we conceptualized a cutting-edge retail branch with a supplementary retail space, adding a new dimension of revenue generation for the organization. Furthermore, the design of the new branch seamlessly incorporates prototypical elements from the previously mentioned main office concept, ensuring a consistent and cohesive brand identity across their network of facilities and among their different facility types.
Sounds like KBA members are keeping you busy here in Kentucky. Thank you so much for all that you're doing and all the support you're giving us here at KBA and for our member banks. And thank you so much for being on today's podcast. How can our audience get in contact with you and your team to learn more about K4 family of companies?
I'll take that, Selina. I think that if they could just go to our website at k4architecture.com, or anyone feel free to email myself or Nicole, and our emails are jklump@k4architecture.com and Nicole Derogatis at k4architecture.com. We're excited. We appreciate the opportunity, Selina, and we're excited to be part of the KBA and be an endorsed vendor. And quite honestly, we really look forward to seeing everyone at French Lick in Hot Springs, Virginia later this year at the conventions. So if you're at the conventions, please stop by and let's make an introduction.
Definitely. And additional information about K4 is also on KBA's website at kybanks.com. That's all for this episode of KBA Vendor Viewpoint. Until next time, this podcast is a wrap. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank
you, Nicole. Thank you, Jeff.
Selina. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. You all have a
Right.
great day.
You do the
Thank
same.
you. Thank you so much.
We were looking for a partner to help us with some construction projects that we had in the plans. And after discussing and talking with several different vendors, we elected to enter into a partnership with K4 on some projects that we had ongoing. Jeff Klump and his group out of Cincinnati have been excellent to work with. They provide years of experience and expertise in this sector. and they brought a lot of ideas to the table that we hadn't even thought of. And they're doing an excellent job also just sitting down and trying to understand who we were, who our customers were, and how they could blend the new, fresh ideas that were in the financial sector branches with kind of our reputation and our desire for what we wanted in our branch. So it was a great opportunity for us to mesh those together to come up with the atmosphere that we want within our walls. So, we started off with a pretty small project with a remodel. They've also helped us with a large exploratory process with a larger building in our home market. And now we're working on a standard brick and mortar location in one of our existing markets. All of these projects have went extremely smooth. We've had very few surprises up to this point that throw us for any kind of loop, and we can attribute that to the constant communication that K4 provides to us. So we've been extremely pleased with the service they provide. We think they're an excellent partner for the financial sector to provide a building and an atmosphere that you and your customers can be proud of.